Welcome back to another episode of the Mindfully Making a Difference podcast. I'm Dr. Rhonda L. Hamilton, and this episode I do in honor of my dear father, Ronald D. Williams, a beautiful, beautiful man of the Army. And not only was he a wonderful father, but he was a very dedicated son, brother, uncle, husband, cousin, friend, and most importantly, my hero. And I'm sure there are many of my listeners out there that can relate. This is a very special and heartfelt message that I'd like to send out to all our beautiful veterans out there who have made the sacrifice and continue to sacrifice, not only being separated from your families and your loved ones, but most importantly, going off and taking the commitment to help protect and defend our nation from all kinds of harm and enemies and the war and atrocities that you guys have to encounter and see, just so that we can live our life, is just an amazing sacrifice to have to make. And so we should be celebrating you the entire week and weekend, most importantly, of Veterans Day. And so today's segment is in honor of the many brave men and women of our service and LGBTQ communities who bravely serve for our freedoms. And in honor of my dear father, who many of you will hear me speak about often, who was not just an abuser of drugs. He was a beautiful human being, and his sense of humor, his smile, and his laughter are what come to mind most. And as the only child and only daughter of such a beautiful and dedicated soul, Veterans Day gives me another opportunity to publicly display my admiration and love for him. Although he struggled with his heroin drug usage, he was very active in teaching me life lessons. And I know now, and looking back, that he kind of overcompensated or felt that he had to, because he was a young father. My father was 18 when I was born, and my mother was just 15. Yes, they were too young. And no doubt my mom having her schizophrenia, which showed up later in her life, closer to when she got into her early 20s, he would end up being a father, single father, trying to raise a daughter who had a mom who was ill and institutionalized. And of course, in the Black community, that's a whole lot in and of itself. My big mama, my granny, his mom, was very influential in my upbringing and in helping to raise me. My dear father and I, we had many disagreements, but boy, did we love one another. So this Veterans Day, the very heartfelt message that I'd like to send out from our Mindfully Making a Difference platform is to all of our listeners to pay attention to your loved ones a little closer. Hold them and hug them a little tighter, and always remember to tell them you love them as if it would be the last time you'd be able to do so. I look back at the photographs of my dear father, whom I lost at 51 years of age. I was so disappointed when I got the call. I was sitting at the desk of my real estate company. I had, burning the midnight oil, and I got a call from my aunt late night telling me that he was in an ambulance and hadn't been responsive, and I should get to the hospital as soon as I could, and no one wants to get that call. And he had just helped me with the grand opening, and I hadn't noticed that his hands were puffy. I didn't know that demon was back. When I was 16 years of age, it made an appearance. And when I say demon, please know, I could only be speaking of the drug, the force, the energy, the power that comes into our dear loved ones' souls and just diminishes their spirit and their resolve. My dear father, Ronald D. Williams, God bless you, and happy Veterans Day to you, and happy Veterans Day to all of our beautiful soldiers and service members out there, and to the beautiful families who support and help to keep the households going in their absence. Mental health is a very complex subject matter, and many of our mental health communities are populated with men and women of the service who have come back from very challenging and horrific experiences. And it is important that as a nation that we begin to normalize the discussions around mental health. The pandemic has helped us all to recognize the horrors of not having proper comprehensive health care. And in that definition has to be and should always have been mental health for our members in our first responding communities, our police officers, no doubt our military communities, and as well as our day-to-day citizens who are living and surviving through the gun violence. The trauma that we live with as a nation is something that we must recognize, and we must understand that not doing so keeps us bound in our mental health struggles. My dear father was one such citizen who was bound in his mental health struggles because he had traumas that he lived with. As his daughter, it is my intentions that in my work as a doctor in the community of helping to save lives, and in my honorary receipt of receiving my doctorate, I want to make my community proud. And so I come forward to bring this message of honor for all of our service members, but most importantly, to use our platform, the Mindfully Making a Difference platform, to raise awareness for the need to help save the lives of our many citizens who are struggling before they leave this earth. Suicide and depression is real amongst our military community members. Housing and the lack of comprehensive mental health resources and economic understandings and the disparities in healthcare must be addressed across the board if we're going to truthfully save lives. We were not able to successfully save the life of my dear father, Ronald D. Williams. I will forever miss your beautiful smile. Happy Veterans Day. And remember out there, mental health matters. Thank you for tuning in.